shit.
Oh!
This guy has a terrified look on his face, and he's got a helmet on. Never, ever remove the helmet.
Even if you feel like you're okay after a crash like that, all sorts of injuries could have happened. Can cops force you to turn off your camera? Is apologizing after a crash admitting fault? What happens if you don't have a license when you crash? We've got all that and more. Welcome to the Biker Rebellion. I'm your host, John Jansen, here with attorney Pete Leahy. We received a lot of comments about using your camera to record the police and our right to record. So here's what a few of our viewers had to say. From Tim Nossum, 5538. Never, ever, ever turn off your camera. It's your right. Also, shut off your bike and pull your own key before they can. It's a power thing. You hold the power, it's your motorcycle. From Huckfin, 1100. I don't agree with your turn the camera off at all. We should never turn our camera off for any reason. Police have a way of keeping the public from getting their body cam footage if they even have a body cam, and they have control of turning it on and off. And finally, on this subject, Edwin Rentis 3244 sums up what a lot of viewers seem to feel. Record the police, 1,000 times record the police, no ifs or buts. Pete, what are your thoughts on this?
So I'm going to modify what I've said before on this subject. These guys, I think, really have the right angle on this. What I've said before is, we're going through the is that a request or a command type of thing.
Right.
And the cop says, I'm commanding you to turn off your camera.
Okay.
And I've commented previously that if they command it, then do it even if it's wrong. I'm going to reverse on that one. The whole idea of turn off your camera was if you've got them on camera telling you to turn it off, then anything they find out after that, they're probably screwed anyway. But the bottom line is, and this is why I agree with these various commentators, is you do have an absolute right to record what happens at a traffic stop. So really, the correct way to approach it is if the cop says, turn off that camera, you just say, I do not consent.
Gotcha.
I do not consent. You don't turn it off. Now, they might do it themselves, which if they do, you best not interfere with them, but you say, I do not consent.
So we're talking about almost in a way a Gandhi-esque approach, like passively resisting. You're not actively trying to assault an officer. You're not taking the phone and running. You're just saying,
no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, you're not saying, screw you, I'm not doing it, you asshole.
Right.
You're just saying, I do not consent. And the camera continues to run, and it will continue to run unless the cop takes his inappropriate behavior further and physically turns off your camera. But that's where I agree with these commentators is even if they command you, don't do it because you do have the right to run that camera.
Fair. So another comment we had here from user Lawless Loner 420. They said, my dad's best friend was a lawyer. Dad used to tell me motorcycles are exempt from most traffic laws because they're smaller and they ain't as dangerous as cars. Now, Pete, what's the reality here?
The reality is Dad and the lawyer were probably about 10 beers into their conversation.
Sure.
I mean, motorcycles are absolutely subject to all the same laws that any other vehicle is subject to, just like a bicycle is, I mean, that's something that tends to chap my ass a little bit as you pull up to a stoplight on your motorcycle. Bicyclist pulls up to the stoplight. They look both ways and they go. I mean, they can be written up for running the stoplight just like anybody else can, but it's a common practice. So bottom line is, you're on a motorcycle, you got to comply with all the traffic laws.
Fair. Now from user Speed Demon 1981, they said, life hack. If you get into a small fender bender, save money and work it out with the other guy. There's no need to exchange insurance info and pay some huge deductible for minor scrapes or waste time with the cops. Just apologize, make sure you're square, and drive away. Now, Pete, what's our take on that?
Well, I guess my first reaction is I totally disagree with not exchanging insurance information. Absolutely, you exchange insurance information. Now, maybe you do just leave the scene after you've exchanged the information. I mean, not every crash warrants bringing the cops into it. I mean, you don't need cops to investigate a little fender bender at a stop sign. But you do need to exchange insurance information because, number one, if it's the other guy's fault, then his insurance should pay.
Sure.
Not you, not your insurance, his insurance. If you haven't gotten his insurance information, you're going to have no way to do that. The next step is people walk away from crashes all the time thinking they haven't been injured because the adrenaline of the situation masks any pain they might be feeling. And furthermore, sometimes when you're injured, like let's just use the traditional whiplash as an example. You get a whiplash to your neck, that doesn't hurt right now, but talk to me in the morning, because a lot of times the next morning it's like, holy shit, my neck really hurts. And now you've left the scene without getting insurance information. This is on your dime now, even if it's the other guy's fault. So absolutely exchange insurance information. Use your common sense as far as calling the cops, because the cops really don't have anything to add to a situation like that. Whereas a more significant crash that warrants some investigation, the cops do need to be called. But always, always, just like a video camera, always run a video camera during the stop. Always get insurance information.
We've seen that with some clients that have come in and they haven't had treatment the day of a crash. They've had, like you said, sometimes it's adrenaline, sometimes your muscles just guard and you have no idea that that injury is even going to happen until the time that it does. So that makes sense. Let's address kind of another concern here. Let's say you're at a crash, it's a fender bender, and it's on the other person, but you're Midwest nice and you apologize. Is apologizing the same as admitting fault at the scene of a crash?
Well, let's break that down.
Okay.
Why and when is an apology appropriate? If I've done something wrong. Yeah, there are people out there that will apologize even when they haven't done a damn thing wrong. It's like, I'm sorry. Quit saying I'm sorry. If you haven't done anything wrong, you don't say you're sorry. If you've been in a crash and you apologize, yes, you just admitted fault. That can be used against you. I see it all the time where my clients say the other guy apologized. I'm sure as hell going to use it against that guy, because most people do not apologize unless they have done something wrong.
Fair. All right, one last follow-up to that before we move on. In the comments of the previous post, a user who goes by CauselessRebel9 said, "It's common sense. You ain't gotta have insurance if you ain't a bad driver. Good drivers don't crash. So if you drive good, don't waste your money." Pete, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, what do we preach and what's been preached to us when we ride a motorcycle? Look out for the other guy. It's not you, it's the other guy. Now, you should have insurance too, but to not have insurance because you're a good driver totally excludes the possibility that you're going to get hit by somebody who's not a good driver or somebody who's made a mistake. And if you don't have insurance, then you're exposed to all kinds of financial difficulties. So not getting insurance because you're a good driver is an enormous mistake.
Fair. On another site, we found this little gem from a user by the name NomadNate6969. Insurance companies can't deny coverage if you don't have a license. They have to cover you no matter what, as long as you're willing to pay premiums. Pete, is there any truth to this statement?
Yeah, there is. I mean, when you buy an insurance policy to cover your liability when you're driving, whether it be a car or motorcycle, doesn't matter, but you buy a policy to cover you, that policy is not dependent on you having a valid driver's license. I mean, if there's language in the policy that said so, that'd be different, but I've never seen language like that. And I have had cases, lots of cases over the years, where somebody didn't have a license, they were operating a vehicle, and they're still covered. So yeah, I agree with that guy that whether you have a license or not, that does not determine whether your insurance coverage is valid.
Fair. Good to know. If you've got any legal questions, comment below and you just might find the answer next week. Now let's shift into third and see what the world's been up to. Alrighty, kicking things off, we've got Write Her Down.
You good, bro? You okay?
Alrighty, so definitely an injured
You okay?
biker lying
good?
side of the road here.
Okay, just relax. Okay, relax.
Let's take a look at what happened just moments before.
Oh shit.
Oh! Yeah, that'll do it. All right, so Pete, I look at something like this and I ask, what's the protocol for someone laying down after a crash?
Stay down.
Okay.
stay down. I mean, and the reason that you want to encourage this guy to stay down, I mean, we saw the crash.
Yeah.
That was a pretty serious looking crash.
Yeah.
If this guy doesn't have some significant injuries, I'm going to be surprised. But you stay down because you don't know what's wrong. Maybe there's something wrong in your spinal cord.
Sure.
Maybe you've got a broken leg. Who knows? But the only correct advice is stay down. You know, and here's another point. This guy has a terrified look on his face, and he's got a helmet on. What about his helmet? Never, unless you're trained to do it, and hardly anybody is, never, ever remove the helmet from the biker. It's the same logic as tell him to stay down. If you go to take his helmet off and you don't know what you're doing, you might paralyze him. So leave that guy's helmet on, encourage him to stay down, keep talking to him, but don't try to take his helmet off, don't try to move him, and try to keep him from moving himself.
And this gets back to what we talked about with the FAQs and adrenaline. You know, even if you feel like you're okay after a crash like that, all sorts of injuries could have happened. And the adrenaline, once it wears off, you're going to know that. So stay down, call for an emergency vehicle of some kind, like ambulance, some help, whether it's firefighters, ambulance, somebody, EMT, somebody who can come and help you, yeah?
Yeah, and well, and guess what the first reaction of most bikers is after they've been in a crash?
Oh shit, my bike!
Right.
You know, they want to jump up and go check on their bike, but, you know, maybe they've got a compound fracture in their leg. So, yeah, stay down. Someone will take care of your bike, and let's find out what your injuries are.
You okay? You good?
We're going through this one more time just to
Relax,
take a
okay,
look.
relax.
I mean, this crash is just...
Oh shit.
And yeah, the bike's in the middle of the road, that's fine. It's just property. We leave it, right? Alrighty, next up we have no signal. Alrighty, pretty standard here. Motorcycle driving down and wipes out. Alrighty, so Pete, we go right here. We have this bike coming in. Do we have an issue here with this distance right here between the two, or is this a sufficient amount of distance that they should be able to stop?
So as I watch that clip, what I see is the motorcyclist looks like he is going an appropriate speed for the circumstances. The car at first is going about the same speed. But then, and the distance the biker is behind the car, I'm totally okay with that. Everything looks right until you notice in the video the car starts to slow down before it changes lanes. And if you are on high alert, as you always should be when you're riding, when that guy in the lane outside of you starts to slow down, you best start reacting right now. And as you can see from the video, following the slowdown, the guy without a turn signal makes a completely improper lane change. If you haven't started reacting before the lane change is made, it's probably too late.
And we see that right here, boom. Little too late. All right, let's go on here. We have the third one, abrupt stop. Alrighty, and okay. Oh, that's aptly named. An abrupt stop indeed. All right, so here, do we have an issue with the biker going too close to the car? Like right there. Look at the distance here to here. Are we concerned at all with that?
Yeah, I mean, at the very start of the video, it looked like the biker was maybe a little close, although I can't be too critical. My criticism comes in failing to react in time. It's crucial that you be on high alert at all times, because the assumption that's going to keep you safe is the other guy's going to screw up, or the other guy's going to do something I don't expect. So the mistake this biker makes is he apparently isn't eyeballing that vehicle enough, because it does start to slow down. There should be enough time here to react to it properly, but obviously he doesn't. And I have to assume it's because, from what I've seen in the video, it's because he doesn't see what's happening soon enough. For that reason, he doesn't react soon enough. He ends up hitting the rear of this vehicle when really this should have never happened.
Yeah, and we can see that reaction timing right here, pushing hard on the brakes, but little ding right there. Now, thankfully, this isn't a complete wipeout of a collision. This is more of a ding and into the grass we go, but not fun all the same. Okay, so looking through this abrupt stop right here, We see the crash right there. Boom. Now, is this a scenario, Pete, where they should be calling, a lawyer such as ourselves and getting some help? Are we worried about liability for the biker in a case like this?
Really, dude?
So I have, over the years, handled cases where a biker rear-ended somebody. There's always going to be some share of fault to be put on the biker because, that's just common logic. Most people think if you rear-end somebody, you're at fault. I've never seen a case where somebody rear-ended somebody else where they didn't have at least some fault. But then it comes down to the dynamics of what was that vehicle ahead doing? Was it appropriate? Was it not appropriate? I can think of one case in particular where the biker I represented, he was following too close. There's no dispute, he was following too close. And the lady driving the pickup truck ahead of him was annoyed. And instead of brake checking by tapping, she stomped on her brakes and that guy smashed into her. That was a case where, and I told my biker client, you're going to get a good chunk of fault here, but the fact is what she did was reckless and completely inappropriate, and we were able to resolve that decently in favor of that biker. But again, there's always going to be some fault if you're rear-end somebody. And something else to keep in mind when you decide how close to follow. I know this because I've dealt with accident reconstruction experts a lot of times in my 40 years. And it is a truism. Any one of them you talk to is going to tell you that human reaction time from the moment you perceive the danger to the moment you start reacting to it, 1.5 seconds goes by. So if you're following at a distance of a second and a half or 2 seconds behind another vehicle, that's why it's too close. You need time to perceive the danger and to react to the danger and safely avoid otherwise what would be a crash.
Fair. We're going to get to the last one here. We've got the underpass crash. All right, so right under an underpass and right into the car. So we have another rear end scenario here, and let's play through this again. Now, I look at something like this, and we're going into an underpass. There might be some differentials on lighting. Do you think that can play a role at all in this?
It can. Obviously, your eyes are used to the bright sun.
Right.
Once you get into the shadows of that bridge, what you see is not going to be nearly as much as if you were driving in that kind of lighting the whole time. So yeah, you're going to get some effect of a temporary blindness or a temporary partial blindness. And it's important to know that when you're approaching these situations.
Now, it looks like our biker's going pretty fast on this, although they did have a good distance back when they were accelerating. But as we can see here, boom, right in the left bumper right there. So looking at that, we have another rear end collision. What do we talk about for liability on this one? Are we concerned with the biker's liability here?
Well, yeah. Watching the entirety of that video, the biker's following distance wasn't terrible at the start. What happens is traffic ahead of him starts to slow, and the situation is made worse by the fact that the slowing is happening in the shade of the bridge. But the bottom line is, you can see that car is starting to slow down, and it's on the biker to start slowing down with the car. If you don't start slowing down with the car, then exactly what happened is what the risk is. It's just, you got to keep that margin. You got to keep that safety cushion, and as soon as you see somebody slowing down, you need to do the same.
Remember, if you're injured, ride with us. Just give us a quick call at 319-294-4424 and let us help with a free consultation.